Well, welcome to another edition of Motor Cars Enthusiasts. Right off the bat on today's show, if you saw the April Fool's show, well, you saw us talk a little bit about Porsche and this whole situation where they're a little bit upset with customers selling their limited edition models for a huge profit, where a lot of that was a little tongue-in-cheek in the April Fool's show. A lot of this is based in fact, as Porsche's been very upset with a lot of customers over the past several years. And it's a deal that's kind of odd to me. I've known a lot of manufacturers that were very upset with the dealer base. I can think back, well, let's think about the Mitsubishi Lancer Evolution. This was a car that has been all over the world for many, many years, but it wasn't until the Evo 8 edition till we got it here stateside, and there was enough pent-up demand that a lot of Mitsubishi dealerships actually, well, they hiked up the price on the machine, sometimes selling them for double what the vehicle stickered for. In a similar situation, remember when the Dodge Viper first came out. Now, when this thing was shown in concept form, there was rumors that Chrysler was getting checks in the mail, blank checks with notes saying, I don't care what it costs, I need this car. But this is a situation where the first 230 of them built, or they made just a touch over 230 of them that first year. And the trick was when Chrysler looked in, after about 100, 150 actually ended up in dealer showrooms, they found out that only, 10, 20, 30 maybe of these cars were actually getting into customers' hands, as a lot of dealers were hiking up the price. 100, 200, so many times $250,000 they were asking for these machines. And Chrysler just basically cracked down, like, listen, you need to sell these cars, you need to sell them right now. And all the dealerships had to pull back on the price reins and get the car into customers' hands. Now, in the interest of fair reporting, I could tell you where at least two 1992 first edition of the Dodge Vipers are sitting still in dealers. Now, I'm thinking the real trick is the owners of said dealers have actually went out and purchased the cars, lock out, stock and barrel. One of them is somewhat still for sale. The other one, that particular machine, is absolutely mint. I don't even think they dealer prepped that thing. They loaded it into a shed where I saw it, and I'm assuming that thing's been sitting there almost ever since the early 90s. So, still, pretty interesting little situation, but bidding back with Porsche, one of these things kind of came to head in a weird kind of way, and it came to head with the 911R. The 911R was kind of a blast from the past, a little bit more of a purist machine, a little bit more of a simple machine. A lot of the niceties were taken away, but you got a lot of the really good stuff, including the center lock wheels off of the 911 GT3 RS, along with all the braking package, a lot of the suspension package off the same car. But it also came with a manual transmission, which was something that Porsche was talking about was going away, especially in the aforementioned GT3 RS and the GT2 RS, where there was talk that it was only going to come out with a PDK gearbox, and they got a lot of people upset, especially here in the United States. It's longly been credited with bringing back the manual transmission inside of Porsche. But once they built the 991 of these machines, Porsche saw a ton of these things on the open market. In fact, we all saw them on the open market, selling for 1, 2 times what the particular machine was actually going for new. So this is something that Porsche has been very upset about. And again, it's something kind of odd. Going after your dealer base is easy, but boy, going after your customers is a little bit difficult. It's a similar situation we talked about with the Ford GT. But Porsche did something a little bit odd, because a handful of months later we had this car, the 911T for touring, which was basically the 911R, but with no limit cap on how many they were going to build. They were going to build as many as they could sell. This thing came with all the goodies off the GT3 RS that you were hoping for, along with the option for a manual transmission, and you can get a little bit more options inside of this machine as well. And they thought of, I don't know if they felt that they were going to just flood the market with this particular machine, or what they were exactly plans were, or maybe just the likes of getting hands on these cars of people who were snubbed out of the 911R situation. Now, here's the thing. Porsche's looking at a situation more like a leasing program for their limited edition models. Their plan is to basically, you won't own the car for the first year. You get the car, but you don't technically own it lock, stock, and barrel until the end of that year. But to me, I don't think it's going to make any difference. After that year's up, speculators are still going to own these cars and still going to be selling them for a huge profit. Because think of this. Let's say the next limited edition model is $500,000 for the sake of argument. $500,000, but if you could sell it for $1 million in just 12 months' time, gosh, that's still easy money right there. I don't think there's any big deal at all about that situation. So I don't know how to fix this Porsche. I've worked on this for a week and a half, and I can't figure out a way around this. So I think you're just going to have to live with it. They're upset that well, the real Porsche fans aren't getting these into their hands. Well, technically they are, because who's going to spend 2 times the price for a 911R to get their hands on one? I'm pretty certain those are the real deal fans. And for the interest of fair reporting, I can think several years ago, my father owned a 1971 Dodge Charger RT Hemi 4-speed car. In 1971, they only built a little over 60 of these things. Stupid rare. And you know what? Dad always said, I'll never sell this car. He ended up selling it, but he said, I'll never sell this car. Back when we were showing it way back in the day. I can't even bought this thing for like 16 grand back in the 80s. So yeah, back when they were really cheap. But he made a statement to me one time. So you know what? If somebody walked up and offered me $100,000, it's theirs. And that was an interesting little situation, because back then, there was no way that thing was worth 100 grand. In fact, I think he sold it for a little over 40. Boy, but then the booming market came around. That thing could have probably sold for closer to $1 million. And he had a price. And I think that's the trick with a lot of these Porsche fans. Even if they're die-hard fans, they still have a price. They still have a market where they, you know what? I'll sell it for that. You know what? I've got a limited edition model. I've got a SRT8 Charger Super B edition. They only built 1,000 of them in the year that I owned them. You know what? If somebody offered me double for that car, it would be theirs today. So everybody's got their price. And that's all there was that I thought was worth talking about for this edition of Motor Cars Enthusiasts. Don't forget to like us over on the Facebook page. Links down in the show notes. Also, if you'd like to subscribe to the channel, you can do so at any time. Get the first dibs on the brand new shows as soon as they come out. Thanks for watching. We'll see you again real soon.